Wow, this is not the David Singer show. All right, this is live with Miami's Community News, and our guest today is former Mayor Eugene Flinn. All right here. All right, on Miami's Community News, and we're going to talk about Arbetter's hot dogs.
Uh,
Let's hear it.
Let's talk about something great.
All right.
Arbetter's hot dog. This body was built on Arbetter's.
Amen. I want to tell you, and for you folks out there, years ago, I pull up to Arbetter's on a Sunday morning, 11:45. They weren't open, and the guy comes out. And he says, "How can I help you, Mike?" I said, "I want to order some food." I go inside. There's only one car in the driveway, Gene. That's me. I go inside. There are no customers in there except for me. There's people behind the counter. The kids take my order. I said, "I want 5 hot dogs all the way. I want 3 with onion and peppers, and I want 4 chili dogs. I want 4 fries. I want 4 Cokes, and throw in a couple more French fries, a couple with cheese chili. $36." And the kid looked me square in the eye and he said, "Sir, is that for here or to go?" Oh yes.
Oh yeah, no. Was that with what was old Bob Arbetter there?
Yeah,
Or?
yeah, Bob was there. When I was in ninth grade, went to the Arbetters on H Street.
Was that a dirt road back then?
Almost.
Did you
All right.
walk
Well,
the
out
dirt
west it
road?
was.
Yeah,
So
that's right. At 122nd, it was a dirt road beyond there.
yes.
Remember
So
that?
yeah. So let's talk about a little bit of Palmetto Bay. We're pretty good. Oh, by the way, there aren't any dirt roads in Palmetto Bay left, but there might be by the time everything gets done there. Let's talk about you are frequently out on Miller and 87th Avenue. Why do you go out there all the time? You see on Facebook.
Miller and 87th Avenue.
You know, you
Well,
go to the Publix out there.
why? I picking up groceries for my mother, my 90-year-old mother. I go out
Wow.
there, take her shopping, or now she prefers me do the shopping, but I'm going out there taking care of her. She likes to live independently, so we're out doing what we can to help her out. So
Good. And you're a little bit more than a cycle hobbyist.
I'm struggling this year to make my annual goal of 4,000 miles. So I've got friends of mine that have almost lapped me on that, but we'll see how it goes. Alexander's ahead of me this year. She's doing her big year. She should have 4,000. I can't let her reach that milestone without me.
So, you how many days a week you cycling?
It's how many days a week am I not cycling?
Okay, good. So, what a non-cyclist car driver, truck driver talking to a cyclist,
Mhm.
I am afraid when I see these cyclists to my right hand side, I like do everything to get into the other lane because I'm afraid I'm gonna hit them. And if I'm going to turn right off of whatever street it is, I make sure I'm so far past them, all right, to make sure that I don't make this hard right. There's some new rules on that, so tell us about that.
Yeah, there are new rules in that. And first of all, the rules were very clear back when we had, well, he was interim manager for a while, but when he was the village police commander, Gregory Truitt, he was very clear. Back then, you could pass a double yellow line to safely move around a pack of cyclists. They did recently change the laws that took effect in July 1st of this year, one of which did more broadly define and advise people that, yes, you can, where you can do it safely, move over the double yellow line. It's counterintuitive because people are used to seeing that, and it might as well be a brick wall for some, even though we know some, any kind of paint, warning sign, or anything is irrelevant. But, it gets back to the point, though, Michael, when you get back to it, I'm going to bring it up again. Bicycle lanes are so important. And that's a problem with the bicycle advocacy groups. It's kind of like every person for themselves. You've got your kids, your leisurely riders, you've got your what they like to mockingly call the spandex crowd, and then you've got people like me. I will occasionally ride with a group, but I often ride with just the wife or another friend. We often ride single file along Old Cutler Road. We'll double up when you get to the neighborhood roads. But when they took bike lanes off 136th Street, that didn't hurt the Peloton riders because they didn't want bike lanes. They wanted they want to continue to take the lane. And I talked to Sue Kowaleski. Why are you working on this? Why are you doing this? Bike lanes are important. And the attitude is that if you can't have armored bike lanes, you might as well do a shared path. Well, the problem is the shared paths don't get cyclists off the road. So for you, Michael, You lose when there's no bike lanes, because what you get with bike lanes is those bicycles are now to the side, no longer in front of you.
Yeah, and my big issue is safety for the cyclist. So I'm looking out for that. And quite frankly, at that point, other than some potential legal liability, I'll cross over the double yellow line, all right? Because I don't want to hurt somebody, especially if it was my fault, all right? And years ago, somebody I know was at a stop sign, look right, look left. He started going. The kid ran the sidewalk, and he ran right into the front right of a truck, front right bumper, not bumper, the wheel well. And the kid was only, I don't know, a second or two earlier or later, he would have been run over. So I think we all need to be cautious without regard to the behavior of the cyclists. We have to watch out for them and make sure we don't hit them. There was an accident. A cyclist went down the other day. There must have been some conversations with a public official, I guess on Key Biscayne, where the bicycles wind up crashing, right? So we know these things are very sensitive. But getting back to the fun part of it, you frequently are down in the 157th, 177th Avenue, riding down that way.
I ride anywhere. When I roll out of the house, I roll anywhere up as far north as, well, I've made it past the county line into Broward County to Hollywood Beach.
All right. So inquiring minds want to know, how long did tires on your bike last? How many months or miles, if you were going to?
About 2,500.
25. That's it. You just know. You say, okay, it's going to
No, I usually know when I get that flat, because even though I check them before you go out, you want to check your brakes. You want to check to make sure your wheels are properly on. You know, those are quick release locks, and sometimes they can come loose. So you check your brakes, you check your tires and your seat, and you make sure the bike's safe. But every now and then, you know, you kind of miss something.
So what do you do when you get a flat tire and you're all the way out near the Everglades?
You fix it.
I
carry a kit with me. I usually carry 2 inner tubes with me. I'm not a tubeless rider. I take tubes with me. It's not infrequent to get a flat. I fixed one the other day. Thankfully, it was a front tire getting near when we were near Matheson Hammock Park. And, 5 minutes later,
does that
back
mean
on the road.
you bring a canister over here?
A CO2 canister.
What do you call it?
A CO2 canister.
Oh.
And, of course, that lasts you about a day. And it was funny. My poor mom, I hope she's not watching the show. I do owe her an apology, because I don't think it was until I reached the age 50 before I started changing my own tires. Back then it was, I got a flat, take it to Max Cycle and pay full freight to have it done.
So I can't tell you which bike shop it was, but the old story was you go in to get your bike flat fixed, and they could patch it, or if the stem was broken, you'd have to get a new tire under the water looking for the leak. So,
well, I tell you, Michael, cycling is a great sport regardless of the age. Oh wait, we have some comments up there.
Oh, look at that.
And we must have mentioned. We must have been.
All right. Let's see. What is Singer, who used to formerly have this spot over here? It's 4:00 at Singer Day. What does he say there? Miller's been
David's in Tallahassee right now doing part of his public service work with the realtor board. So
is that a requirement that he does public service? How many hours?
Well, at least he's in front of the realtor board, not walking along the highway picking up things. So.
Look what Carol Vega has to say. Great mayor and great son. I guess that's about you.
No, I thought that was about you.
Nah, I don't think so. Simon Sanders says, are you joking, David Singer? I guess that's in reference to David's prior comment.
I'm going to get David and his son on a bike. And, we had Dora, and we're going to have a show coming up where we have some more bikes, and we're going to talk about gravel riding. I know you're worried about riding on the road, and a lot of people are leaving the road and going gravel riding, which is a great way to go out and see nature. Of course, the problem for me, when you ride the road, I can just pull out of my driveway. I can go anywhere from Broward County down to Alabama Jacks. But if
do you have a one-way bicycle you could give David?
A one-way bicycle? That's like a one-way ticket?
One-way ticket.
I want to see him get out there. I mean, it'll just,
all right.
Just really
let's talk about
nature.
A couple things. Let's talk about what is going on with the old Florida Power and Light building property. It's been a while since I've even heard anything.
Well, wouldn't it be nice for the little more transparency to tell you what's going on? I've been following the court cases, and not too many filings have been going on in there. We tried to rezone it 1 unit an acre before I left office. It passed on first reading, and it didn't come around again, which was fine. They brought it back later on, and now there's the Burt J. Harris lawsuit going on. I know that the village has, I think, three. I don't know how many attorneys are looking at it, but you can't say that case is not being defended based upon the legal bills that are coming in. That's for sure.
All right. So I guess in the next year, 2 or 3, that'll be some. There might be a resolution to that.
Well, who knows? I mean, remember, they brought forward a resolution that, oh my God, I just, talking about what, 147 units, slips, allowing a commercial marina there, all kinds of things that I thought were really out of bounds for that area. But I think the residents kind of stood back up and said, whoa, slow this down, and we don't want to see that intensity there. I know when it was first coming up, we were talking about doing a charrette type process for that, involving the neighbors. And when you do a process like that, it makes it much more defensible if you do get a court challenge, when you go through those things and kind of involve neighbors and that. When you just pull things from the dais and just try to force them down developers' throats, that's when you get in trouble.
And all those things, when you do charrette type things, it shows concerned parties, meaning the agency, the developer perhaps, and the neighbors. You had an opportunity to come out, and here's what happens. And charrettes, it's a good tool, whether you like it or not. All right, about a working document they might be able to be proffered to the deciders.
Well, and that's important, because involving the public is hugely important. I know some people didn't like the large amounts of town hall meetings that were done under my administration. And yes, you do have some people come out and they get angry, but I've always thought, through conflict comes resolution. Let's hear everybody's concerns. And, recently on the 87th Avenue Bridge, that's one great example. I've been contacted by some people saying, is there something we can do about it? And the answer is yes, there is. I mean, remember, we have successfully fought off this bridge over many, many years. And, we've always provided alternatives. And then what happened with the change in administration, things like the traffic circle at 174, litigation was threatened over that, over putting in a traffic circle, something at Palmetto Bay had policy toward installing. Turning down the traffic circle again on 87th Avenue at 144, not funding things like the turbo lanes on Old Cutler Road and allowing things to be pushed back. That really led the county to say, whoa, we're not getting the benefits of the agreement we have. Maybe the adults need to take over now. And that's when you saw the bridge come forward in the way it was. In fact, when the bridge came forward, remember, one of the biggest problems was the council the night before a TPO meeting were discussing, oh, this is horrible. No prior notice, no this. Well, wait a minute. Danielle Cohen-Higgins discussed that at a meeting held in December with the current mayor. And then they knew about the night before, but not one of the 5 members of the village council could be bothered to show up and object to the process. When you don't object, you waive your objection. Now, I'm an attorney. I know there's 2 people on that council that are trained attorneys. And, sometimes a judge calls you and says, here's an emergency matter. You got to come down, at least if you have any decent cases.
So let's talk about
show up.
All right. Let's talk about transportation, moving vehicles, in this case, cars and trucks, not big trucks, from the south end to the north end of the county, or at least out of the south end.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the reasons for the 87th Avenue Bridge, plus the other 3 or 4 that are being considered, was to move traffic faster back and forth. So what about the counties moving forward now? All right. I know the plans haven't been drawn yet, but the county wants to be able to move traffic because people south are upset, and the people, when they're going back home, are upset. So
I want them to move traffic too. And that's something I've always worked with all 12 years that I've been honored to serve as mayor. And the problem is they never want to move forward on a comprehensive plan. It's Band-Aid by Band-Aid. Remember, I grew up on 87th Avenue. We've talked about that. 87th Avenue and Miller Road. They were once 2-lane roads. Miller Road, you'll remember Mr. Miller. Any relation, by the way? Is that your road?
Is that the beer factory?
Yeah. But going back to that, remember, you used to have a canal down it.
We did, right down the middle there.
You know, my parents' house is a 2-lane 87th Avenue. Traffic would back up in front of it at rush hour. Oh, we'll fix it. We'll 4-lane it. Well, what do you have now with the 4 lanes? Traffic backs up in front of my parents' house.
So
more things change, the more they stayed the same.
But for a long time, a long time ago, there was a representatives from Homestead, Florida City, Cutler Bay, Palmetto Bay. There was they were trying to work together to help figure out how to move
our
traffic.
municipal coalition, which back then was then Councilman Mirabot, then Councilman Joe Cordino. And I thought we did some really good things. Remember, the county's always tried to do some different things with the bus lane. And, you know, this new, what they call bus rapid transit plan, these buses are not going to move any faster. These are not high-speed buses, okay? They're not from Tokyo or China that are going to be going 300 miles.
Okay.
They're buses.
So let's look at
the prettier buses.
Yeah, the bus lane, as it's sometimes referred to, and the
or how it should have been called, and I know he's a good friend of yours, the Causeway for John Cosgrove. Remember that?
Yes.
It's the Cosgrove Way.
Okay, it's the RTZ, Rapid Transit Zone, that the county has thrown out, all right, which allows for an intensity of the zoning within a half a mile, I think, on each side of the highway.
Yeah, let's see if the cities are any better fighting that off than they were fighting off the bridge or fighting for rail, which is something that, you know, we were this close to. And then everybody folded after Peggy Bell and myself left office.
So what do you think ultimately is going to happen to this rapid transit zone that's being proposed? All right, that I don't know if the commission has even voted on it yet. All right, but a lot of the cities have been objecting to it, and so the purpose of that, I guess, is to be able to push people to try to take public transportation by allowing higher density with less cars. They could live there and they could take public transportation.
Well, first of all, you have to find livable areas too. You know, right now, housing prices, we're approaching another bubble, and housing prices are so high right now. You know, 2 teachers at starting salaries, I don't know where they live, how far out. I mean, they have to end up probably in East Naples to try to commute into here with the way housing prices are. You can't go out any further. You know, so you've got a choice. Do you build up or do you build out? It's like water. You can't compress it. You can't compress density. It either goes up or it goes out, and there's some tough decisions to be made. And unfortunately, too many leaders right now want to pretend that the answer is easy and you just say no. But that's not the case, because it comes back. You see it in housing prices, the lack of affordability. And, you know, everybody's comp plan, in Palmetto Bay's comp plan, there's items relating to affordability. That comp plan is overdue for being updated. So I don't know what they're going to do on that. I think they've got an extension to March at this point. But, you know, we've got to provide for affordable housing. And it does bother me that whenever you say that word, the code word starts coming out in terms of renters and Section 8. And we're not talking about renters or Section 8. We're talking about housing as it applies to median incomes. And it's a very complicated process that I know populist politicians just want to turn it into one word solutions like traffic. But all that happens is you push this all off for other people to decide or not to decide to do something with.
So what's going to happen with the rapid transit zone proposal?
Well, I fought that off years ago. That comes out of the original watershed plan that they were trying to impose down there. Worthy goal in terms of the fact that they were saying, hey, you know, you're out there affecting our well systems, and you know, how are we going to do this? We have to manage growth. And you either believe in managed growth, you either believe in smart growth, or you're just throwing out platitudes for the purposes of getting past that next election. I know the Village just came out with a resolution, again, long after the issue had been decided by the county, insofar as the one UDB item that came before them down south that had a lot of support because of jobs. And that's the inconsistency. When you've got a mayor and council that says, we want to bring jobs to South Dade. Okay, well, where are you going to put them? Well, not there. When you have them saying, we don't want urban sprawl, but then they say, well, we don't want you building on farmland, but don't come to developable land here in Palmetto Bay, such as the island, and don't expect to be able to develop that land. The county's justifiably miffed on a lot of things. Remember, when Palmetto Bay first incorporated under the original zoning before we changed it to my first FT&I zoning district, you could have done anywhere from 17 to 23,000 units in that area. We reduced it down to 5,600, I think, which do people say, oh my God, Flinn reduced it from 17 or 20 down to 56. No, they say, oh, look, Flinn wants to build 5,600 units.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because there's a proposal before the Village of Palmetto Bay to put up a 480 unit apartment building.
Yeah, I don't understand where they're going on that. Staff for the second successive hearing, it's been before that mayor and council now. Well, that mayor, not the same council. It's been, I believe that was his third time teed up. And then last minute, what seemed to deflate the whole thing was a sudden discussion of a covenant. Well, I don't know how it was sudden. We've been discussing that covenant for many years.
On this particular project.
That covenant was discussed under an original charrette that was done, I believe, in 2004, that I think held like 40 different meetings and brought in a lot of people. And they talked about senior housing. They talked about this. They talked about that. It was actually a very dense, and we really cut that back down. Again, back then we tried to work with people. And
now, let me, on this project, is that the same owner for all these years?
Yes. Well, I think he's brought in new partners, but Scott Silver's been involved throughout.
And so he's been before this council down there for years.
Well, you got to remember how a lot of this came up. It was originally 400 units, and there was interim zoning on the 22 acres there, which is property that's near and dear to my heart as a conservationist, and I never want to see touched. In fact, we should have taken it over years ago. 3 different times I've tried to buy that land. You buy the land, you buy it with the developmental rights. It's in the hands of the public. Nothing gets developed there. Case closed. But, if you can't get that, you got to look for other ways to do it. It's on the EELS B list. And the reason why it's on the EELS list, EELS meaning the Environmentally Endangered Lands Program, is that it's sensitive land. It's land worth saving. There's a walking path through it. We had originally designated that Parks and Rec, and it wasn't until Mayor Stanzik in July of 2014 came very close to doing 2 things on that property. Number one, allowing a 41 units in that 22 acres and a fire station. And I believe your brother wrote a scathing editorial on that.
Hold on one second. Andres, yes. Would you put those comments back up so we can see them? There we go. Let's leave it like that. All right.
All right. So we got the, but what was worse about that is she was going to roll those 22 acres into the VMU. Now, the Village Mixed Use District was a special district we had set up for the Burger King International Headquarters, which later became the Palmetto Bay Village Center. And that allows for 10 units an acre. So if you made that 22 acres part of the VMU, where, as I said before, it wasn't in it, it was designated interim zoning Parks and Rec. Now you've brought 220 units total, only which 41 were going to be immediately built, which gave a lot more to. So you're not looking at 480 units. You're looking at eventually 660 units there. That's not good environmental stewardship or good zoning management.
So this has been deferred. How many times has this project been deferred? More or less. What do you think?
I don't know. Never came before me for actual zoning to permission to go to never came before me to go to actual. We want to get the zoning to go become shovel ready. So I think it's only been in the last 3 years, and I think it's been. I think it came in twice under interim manager Truitt. And again, the recommendation was for 480, and then it got moved to another hearing, and I don't know what happened at that hearing. And then it came forward again the other night.
Okay. So, all right. So Mr. Singer, if I
Speaking
could,
of my mom and Miller Road and all this, where'd you get these old Dixie cups?
You like
This
that?
is
Yeah.
reminding me.
so it seems to be a question about having the little windows where you can stick your head in the window and get some
Oh,
pastelitos.
God, I hope that's not true. I so hope that's not true. You know, I mean, because again, I got back to saying a few minutes ago about renters, Section 8, and you know, it just seems to be reactionary zoning going on right now in Palmetto Bay, or reactionary. You know, there's no. Remember, after I left, or just coming in, Mayor Cunningham and group had started looking at an unsolicited bid, a $72 million investment. And then that got ripped to shreds. I wasn't for that, and I'm not upset to see it happen. Although I didn't like the process that wasn't used to make that go away. But I just don't know. There's no pending theme going on. Everything's reacting, putting out one fire to another. But remember, we grew up here. Okay, it's not any particular ethnic group. This is the strength of Miami is the diversity we have here. And La Carreta took over the Black Angus that used to be down the street from me, across from our betters over there. And you know what? I love those little windows. I myself would be there at hours my parents probably wouldn't care to hear about.
On which side did you want to be, on the inside or the outside?
Well, actually, inside is very good dining. You know, I love that food. Not as much as I love our betters, of course, but no, but being out at night with those windows, and you know, we have one, the butcher shop at 142.
Yes,
at 142 and US 1. So is that now a non-conforming? Is that going to be shut down?
So, you know, part of creating community is those type of things that have lots of memories behind them. And to be able to say, hey, this is a good place where people
gathering places. Yes, gathering place. Who is this government to tell people that they can't gather in that way?
You know, you really need to take a look at that.
That is just, I hope that's a mistake. I hope I'm hearing it wrong. But I mean, that just seems like an attack on a certain group of people's way of life, which, you know what? Anybody who hasn't been and anybody in this town who hasn't enjoyed Cuban coffee, you know.
So years ago, there was an insurance company, and they would go pick up the patients, and the patient was going to the big lobby.
I know what they call those vans. Yeah, no.
And so they would have their espresso and their pastelitos. Everybody was happy, and then they would go in and see the doctor. So a new company came along and said, we're going to do away with all that stuff. All right. We don't want that anymore. You know what happened to the business? Because the people were going there, yes, to get medical, but bigger picture stuff, they were going there for a sense of camaraderie.
And you know what? They probably got more holistic health by going there with the gathering, the being with people, the socialization, than they get from any specific shot in the arm.
All right. Mr. Mayor, former mayor. You guys, I guess to be called mayor or sir. Do we still call you sir? All right.
No, that's my father, my late father. Call me Gene.
All right. We're going to wrap up in a second. Do you clean that mic before starting? Absolutely. All right. And John Henry, well, let's see. You can read that. It says, Cody claimed the path to nowhere was never supposed to be a bike lane. Why is he such a... Well, we're not going to...
Well, I mean, that was a bike lane. It was approved as a bike lane back when the Village of Palmetto Bay used to post resolutions. You could read them. They were approved bike lanes. You can even see where the council voted to change from bike lanes to the shared path. It was all decision made entirely by the Village of Palmetto Bay, who was in control of the zoning. I know I was there when it was bike lanes and presented as bike lanes, and I know it had to be changed. Either that or that's another case of bridge, rail, and other things where the county's just rolled over this current government.
All right, so what the city village needs to be concerned with the rapid transit zone that's being...
They need to be concerned, and I hope they pay more attention to it than they paid to the bridge, because, you know, the people that were elected, now they want to say, oh, the county has control of those roads. That's not what they said during election time when they say, we will fight the bridge.
Yes.
You know, I mean, it's a loser's excuse now to say, well, it's the county's issue. Well, that wasn't what you were saying. Were you lying to the people then or lying now?
All right. So tell me the next time you're going to go to Arbetters, because I'm going to meet you and you're going to have to pay. Take that wallet out of your pocket. You and Patrick, take your wallets out.
Hey, I'm the only elected official ever to pay for one of your meals.
That's true.
That's true.
Folks, Our friend and guest is Eugene Flinn, uh, lawyer extraordinaire and now former politician, but a civic activist and a more than hobbyist cyclist.
Bike lanes are for motorists.
There you go. Folks, thank you for joining us. Andre, thank you. Folks, have a good day, and thank you for joining us. See you
May
later.
the good news